Right now, someone is paying $45 a pound for something growing in the crack between your driveway and your lawn. Not a rare plant, not something that requires a greenhouse or a specialist, a weed, the kind most people spray without a second thought every spring. The civilization that first documented its value did so over 3,000 years ago. By the time we reach number 17 on this list, you will understand exactly how that price exists and why the plant in question is currently on an eradication list in 4 countries. Number 25 is the one most people wage full chemical warfare on every single year. It sells dried and packaged for up to $30 a pound. It has been in your lawn this whole time. The global herbal supplement industry is worth over $150 billion. A significant portion of that money moves through plants that grow wild, untended, in gardens, roadsides, and disturbed soil across every temperate country on Earth. Ancient farmers did not spend money on these plants. They spent time learning them. That knowledge passed through generations until somewhere between the invention of synthetic herbicide and the idea of the perfect suburban lawn, it stopped passing. What follows is 25 of those plants. Each one has a price, each one has a history, and every single one of them is probably within walking distance of where you are sitting right now. You already know this plant, every gardener does. It is the one with the bright yellow flower and the white seed clock that children blow apart, spreading it further into every lawn that borders yours. It is also the plant that Roman physicians called dens leonis, lion's tooth, and used for liver complaints, digestive sluggishness, and what they described as heaviness of the blood. Medieval European herbalists cataloged it in formal medical texts as a treatment for jaundice and fluid retention. Arab physicians in the 11th century wrote detailed preparation instructions for dandelion root decoctions. The plant appears in nearly every major herbal tradition on every continent where it grows. Modern pharmacological research has confirmed the mechanism. The root contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that directly feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It contains bitter sesquiterpene lactones that stimulate bile production and support liver function. A 2011 study published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine confirmed significant diuretic activity in human subjects. The leaves contain more vitamin A than carrots, more calcium than broccoli, and meaningful amounts of vitamin C and K. Dried dandelion root sells for up to $30 a pound in herbal markets. Premium organic dandelion tea sits on the shelf of every health food store in the country. The plant producing it is growing in your lawn right now, untouched and almost certainly scheduled for removal. Most people learn about stinging nettle the hard way. One brush against the stem and those hollow silica needles inject formic acid and histamine into the skin. The lesson tends to stick. What does not stick for most people is what comes after the sting. Egyptian physicians documented nettle use over 3,000 years ago, prescribing it for joint pain and as a general strengthening tonic. Roman soldiers brought it to Britain specifically to beat their limbs with it during winter. The sting increased circulation and generated warmth in cold climates. Viking herbalists listed it among their most valued food plants. The evidence trail runs long and consistent across cultures that never shared a common language. Nutritionally, cooked nettle is extraordinary. Heat destroys the sting entirely. What remains is a dark green vegetable with more iron than spinach, more calcium than milk by weight, and significant concentrations of vitamins A, C, and K. Multiple clinical trials have confirmed that nettle root extract reduces symptoms of benign prostatic hyperplasia. Freeze-dried nettle leaf has published clinical evidence for reducing allergic rhinitis through a mechanism entirely different from antihistamines. Dried stinging nettle sells for $25 to $40 a pound. It grows in damp, nitrogen-rich soil near stream banks, old farm buildings, and disturbed ground across the entire temperate world. You pull it with gloves in spring. You blanch it for 2 minutes. What you have after that is one of the most nutritionally complete vegetables available anywhere at any price. This is the plant that sticks to everything. The scrambling vine with tiny hooked hairs that attach to clothing, dog fur, children's sweaters. Every gardener pulls it out by the armful in spring. It climbs fences, walls, other plants, and any person who walks too close. Medieval European herbalists called it a primary herb of spring cleansing and used it specifically for what they described as lymphatic congestion, swollen glands, sluggish fluid movement, and the general heaviness that accumulates over winter. The preparation was always cold infusion, fresh green cleavers steeped overnight in cold water, then drunk in the morning because heat destroys the active compounds. Dioscorides mentioned a related species in his 1st century Greek herbal. Traditional Chinese medicine used Gallium species for similar applications for over 1,000 years. Modern herbalists continue to use cleavers for lymphatic support, and the plant contains compounds including tannins, flavonoids, and iridoids that have demonstrated anti-inflammatory activity in laboratory research. The lymphatic applications have not yet produced large clinical trials, but the traditional use is remarkably consistent across cultures with no shared history. Dried cleavers sells for over $30 a pound. The fresh plant fills every hedgerow, garden edge, and disturbed patch of ground in early spring. It arrives uninvited, grows faster than almost anything else, and the entire aerial plant is the medicine. Plantain grows in compacted soil, footpaths, lawns that get heavy foot traffic, driveways, anywhere the ground is hard and disturbed. That preference for trampled earth is part of why Native Americans called it white man's footprint. It appeared wherever European settlers walked, following their paths across a continent. What those settlers carried with them, without fully understanding it, was one of the most thoroughly validated wound-healing plants in the botanical world. Anglo-Saxon physicians listed plantain as one of 9 sacred herbs. Medieval battlefield medicine used leaf poultices on wounds as standard practice. Traditional healers across Europe, Asia, and the Americas used it independently for wound care, insect bites, and digestive inflammation. 3 separate continents, the same plant, the same applications, with no contact between the traditions. A clinical trial in Iran found that plantain ointment outperformed standard treatment on 2nd-degree burns. Studies have confirmed anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and wound-healing activity from compounds including aucubin, allantoin, and mucilage. The seeds of the closely related Plantago psyllium are the source of psyllium husk, the same fiber sold in digestive health supplements for $15 a bottle. Dried plantain leaf sells for $15 to $30 a pound. The plant is in virtually every lawn and pathway in the temperate world. It has been following humans around since the beginning of recorded history, growing exactly where people walk, waiting to be used. Yellow dock is the tall weed with the deep taproot that gardeners know means work. Pull it and the root breaks. Leave a fragment and it regrows. Till it and it multiplies. It has frustrated farmers for as long as farmers have kept records. Ancient Egyptians used the root medicinally, and the plant appears in Egyptian papyri among treatments for skin conditions and digestive complaints. Greek physicians documented it. Roman agricultural writers mentioned it repeatedly, usually in the context of trying to eradicate it from cultivated land. What none of those removal efforts succeeded in doing was actually removing it. Yellow dock root is one of the richest plant sources of non-heme iron available anywhere. Herbalists have used it for anemia and iron deficiency for centuries, and unlike iron supplements, which are notoriously harsh on the digestive system, yellow dock simultaneously supports digestion while delivering iron. The root also contains anthraquinone compounds similar to those in rhubarb, which support liver function and gentle digestive movement. Research has confirmed its iron-assisting activity and its bitter tonic properties. Dried yellow dock root sells for over $35 a pound. It grows in fields, ditches, roadsides, and disturbed soil across the entire temperate world. Every farm has it. Every gardener fights it. The root they are discarding is worth more per pound than the vegetables they are protecting. The name comes from the tiny heart-shaped seed pods that dangle from the stem. They look like the small leather purses shepherds once carried. The plant grows in sidewalk cracks, roadsides, and disturbed soil, anywhere there is bare ground and a little sun. It looks completely unremarkable. Its medical history is anything but. Traditional European and Asian medicine both documented shepherd's purse as a primary herb for hemorrhage and excessive bleeding, including heavy menstrual cycles. Battlefield medicine used it. Midwives used it. The Chinese pharmacopoeia included it for centuries. 2 traditions separated by thousands of miles arrived at the same clinical use independently, which is a specific kind of evidence that herbalists take seriously. Modern research has identified active constituents including flavonoids and peptides with vasoconstrictive properties. Studies have confirmed effects on uterine muscle tone and blood coagulation pathways. A 2020 review confirmed anti-hemorrhagic activity consistent with traditional use. Dried shepherd's purse sells for over $25 a pound. It is growing right now in a parking lot near you. It blooms early, seeds prolifically, and appears in every temperate region on Earth. Most people walk past it every day without knowing its name. Purslane is the low, succulent-looking weed that spreads across garden paths and disturbs soil in summer. Thick reddish stems, small rounded leaves, a texture slightly rubbery to the touch. Most gardeners in the United States and Northern Europe pull it as a pest. In France, Greece, Turkey, and much of Asia, it is food. Real, valued, deliberately grown food. Ancient Egyptians cultivated purslane as a vegetable crop. It appears in records from Mesopotamia. Greek physicians recommended it. The Ottoman kitchen used it extensively. That is 7. The next item has been actively removed from formal cultivation in parts of Europe. The reason is exactly what you would expect. Chickweed is the pale green carpet that covers bare soil in cool weather. Early spring, autumn, and winter in mild climates. It grows so fast and so densely that it can outcompete other plants entirely, which is why gardeners fight it constantly. Roman agricultural records noted it as a persistent weed of cultivated ground as early as the 1st century BC. Chinese herbal traditions documented chickweed use for over 1,000 years, particularly for skin inflammation and as a cooling food in early spring. European herbalists used it for the same applications, topically for itching and inflamed skin, internally as a nutritive spring green. The nutritional profile is genuinely unusual. Chickweed contains vitamins C, A, and B6. It contains vitamin B12, which is exceptionally rare in any plant source, making it potentially significant for people avoiding animal products. It also contains calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. Multiple compounds with anti-inflammatory and antipruritic properties have been identified. Research on topical applications for eczema and skin irritation has produced positive preliminary results. Dried chickweed sells for over $20 a pound. In fresh form, it covers garden beds, cold frames, and every patch of disturbed soil through the cool months. It is the plant most people are pulling out of their gardens while simultaneously spending money on multivitamin supplements. Ground elder is one of the most persistently invasive plants in European gardens. It spreads by underground rhizome, reappears after removal, and is widely considered one of the hardest weeds to eliminate from a cultivated space. Roman legions brought it to Britain deliberately. They carried it as a food and medicinal plant across northern Europe during the expansion of the empire, planting it near military camps and settlements as a reliable green in cold climates. The name podagraria comes from the Latin for gout. The plant was a primary treatment for gout and arthritic joint pain in Roman and medieval European medicine. Monasteries cultivated it through the Middle Ages specifically for this use, which is why it also carries the common name bishop's weed. The young spring leaves are edible and nutritious, used in soups and as a cooked green across Scandinavian and Eastern European cuisine, where the plant's food history never fully disappeared. Modern research has identified anti-inflammatory compounds, including flavonoids and phenolic acids. Laboratory studies have confirmed activity relevant to the arthritic applications documented by Roman physicians. Fresh ground elder greens sell for $12 to $18 a pound in markets where foraged wild greens have value. The plant grows in every shaded European and North American garden where someone once let it establish, which means it grows in tens of millions of gardens right now, most of which are actively trying to be rid of it. Burdock is impossible to miss in late summer. The large-leafed plant with burr seed heads that attach to everything: clothing, pet fur, hair. The burrs were the direct inspiration for the invention of Velcro, which is the kind of fact that sounds like it was made up but is documented. In Japan, the root is called gobo and is a staple food. Every supermarket carries it. It is sliced thin for stir-fries, simmered in soups, pickled, and used in traditional dishes that have been prepared for over 1,000 years. In Chinese medicine, burdock root and seed have documented use dating back to the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century. European herbalists used the root extensively for skin conditions and what they called blood purification, support for the body's natural detoxification processes. The root contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It contains compounds with demonstrated antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Research has confirmed liver protective properties. A 2011 study found burdock root extract significantly reduced liver damage markers in animal models. Fresh burdock root sells for $15 to $25 a pound. It grows wild along roadsides, stream banks, and waste areas throughout the temperate world. People dig it up to remove it. In Japan, people cultivate it because wild populations there can no longer keep up with demand. Lamb's quarters is the tall, pale, dusted annual that appears in gardens, fields, and disturbed soil every spring. The leaves look like they have been lightly frosted with white powder, a natural waxy coating that distinguishes it from similar plants and signals something worth paying attention to. This plant is in the same family as quinoa and spinach. That is not an accident. The nutritional profile reflects it. Compared directly to spinach, lamb's quarters contain significantly more vitamin C, more calcium, more iron, and comparable protein. It also delivers vitamins A and K, B vitamins, manganese, and antioxidants in concentrations that outperform most cultivated vegetables. Archaeological evidence shows lamb's quarters was a staple food for Native American populations across North America long before European contact. Han Dynasty agricultural texts in China referenced the plant as a reliable famine food and nutritive green. The flavor is mild, slightly earthy, and entirely versatile. It substitutes for spinach in any preparation. Fresh lamb's quarters sells for $12 to $20 a pound in markets where foraged greens have found an audience. It grows so abundantly in productive patches that a single hour of foraging can yield several pounds. Most gardeners pull it immediately upon identification and add it to the compost pile, which is one way to use it, though considerably less efficient than eating it. Wood sorrel looks like clover. 3 heart-shaped leaflets, low to the ground, often growing in shaded spots under trees and along garden edges. Eat a leaf, and the resemblance to clover ends immediately. The flavor is a sharp, clean, immediate sourness, oxalic acid, that tastes like lemon compressed into a single small leaf. Aztec and Inca food traditions both incorporated wood sorrel as a flavoring and nutritive plant. Indigenous populations across North America used it as a food source and to treat fevers. European medieval herbalists documented it as a treatment for scurvy on long journeys and as a febrifuge. The sour taste was understood as a signal of vitamin C content, not in those terms, but functionally. The connection proved accurate. Wood sorrel is a genuine source of vitamin C, and the traditional use for fever reduction and scurvy prevention maps directly to what modern analysis has confirmed about the plant's chemistry. High-end restaurant kitchens have used it as a garnish and flavor ingredient for decades. Fresh wood sorrel sells for around $20 a pound. It grows in lawns, woodland edges, garden beds, and shaded disturbed ground everywhere. Halfway through, the civilizations behind the next 12 items never lost this knowledge. Only one group did. Hawthorn grows as a thorny shrub or small tree along field boundaries, hedgerows, and disturbed woodland edges. The berries appear in late summer. Small, deep red, clustered on thorned branches. Celtic cultures considered hawthorn sacred and used it medicinally for over 2,000 years. Traditional European herbalists from the medieval period onward used hawthorn berries consistently for what they described as heart weakness, a category that modern cardiology would recognize as cardiovascular insufficiency. Chinese medicine documented hawthorn berry use for heart and digestive applications in the Shenong Bencao Jing, one of the oldest Chinese pharmaceutical texts, compiled around the 1st century AD. Modern clinical research has done something unusual for a herbal medicine. It has produced multiple large, well-designed clinical trials. A series of randomized controlled trials found hawthorn extract significantly improved exercise tolerance, reduced shortness of breath, and improved heart function in patients with mild to moderate heart failure. The active compounds, oligomeric proanthocyanidins and flavonoids, have demonstrated vasodilatory and antioxidant effects in numerous studies. Dried hawthorn berries sell for $15 to $28 a pound. The shrub grows along field edges, hedgerows, and disturbed ground across Europe, North America, and Asia. The berries require nothing more than identification and a pair of gloves to harvest. The thorns are the only inconvenience between the plant and the medicine. Elder grows at field edges, woodland margins, and disturbed ground as a large shrub or small tree. It produces broad, flat clusters of small white flowers in early summer and heavy clusters of deep purple-black berries by late summer. The history of medicinal use runs so far back and across so many cultures that tracking it becomes almost circular. Egyptian papyri mention elder preparations. Greek physicians documented it. Every major European herbal tradition from the medieval period onward placed elder among the most important medicinal plants available. In many European folk traditions, the elder tree was considered so significant that it was given something approaching a spirit. To cut one without asking permission was considered serious bad luck, which is the kind of cultural memory that often encodes genuine practical importance. Modern research has focused heavily on elderberry's antiviral and immune-supporting properties. Multiple clinical trials have confirmed that standardized elderberry extract reduces the duration and severity of influenza. A 2016 randomized double-blind trial found it reduced cold duration by an average of 4 days in air travelers. The mechanism involves flavonoids that inhibit viral binding to host cells. Dried elderberries sell for $20 to $35 a pound. Elder grows wild and abundantly across most of the temperate world, producing more berries per shrub than any single household could consume. The Latin name says everything worth knowing about the history. Achillea, named for Achilles, who according to Greek tradition used this plant to stop the bleeding of his soldiers' wounds at Troy. Whether or not Achilles was real, the military medicine is. Roman field surgeons carried dried yarrow in leather pouches as standard kit. They called it herba militaris, the soldier's herb. It appears in wound care records across Norse, Celtic, Chinese, and Native American medical traditions. Soldiers on separate continents, in separate centuries, carrying the same plant for the same reason, with no contact between the traditions. Yarrow contains compounds including achillean and flavonoids that have demonstrated hemostatic activity. They genuinely shorten bleeding time. Modern hemostasis research confirmed the specific mechanism in studies published in the 1980s and 1990s. Beyond wound care, yarrow has confirmed anti-inflammatory and fever-reducing activity. The aerial parts of the plant are the medicine. Dried yarrow sells for $18 to $30 a pound. It grows wild in meadows, roadsides, and disturbed grassland across the entire temperate world, producing its flat-topped clusters of small white or pink flowers throughout the growing season. It is one of the few plants that is simultaneously a hemostatic and a vulnerary. It stops bleeding and heals the wound. Most plants do one or the other. Goat's rue is a tall, leguminous plant with blue-purple flowers that grows in disturbed ground, stream banks, and field margins. It has been a botanical obscurity in most gardening circles for decades. Medieval European herbalists used it to increase milk production in nursing mothers and as a treatment for fevers and plague, a common medieval combination that often mixed genuine medicinal applications with desperation. The milk-producing application turns out to have been based on something real. The plant contains guanidine derivatives, and the study of these compounds led directly to the development of metformin, the most widely prescribed diabetes medication in the world. The compound galagine from Galaga officinalis was the direct precursor to the synthetic biguanide drugs that became metformin. That pathway from medieval herbal use to the most commonly prescribed diabetes drug on Earth is documented pharmaceutical history. Dried goat's rue sells for $20 to $35 a pound in specialized herbal markets. The plant grows wild across Europe and has naturalized across North America. The connection between this roadside weed and the medication taken daily by over 150 million people worldwide is not widely known outside of pharmaceutical history. Now it is. Here it is. Number 17. Japanese knotweed grows through concrete. It undermines building foundations. It can devalue property. Governments spend millions annually on eradication programs. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal to allow it to spread to a neighboring property. It is on invasive species watch lists across dozens of US states and Canadian provinces. It is also pound for pound one of the most concentrated natural sources of resveratrol on Earth. Resveratrol is the compound in red wine that launched a billion-dollar supplement industry when researchers found associations with longevity, cardiovascular health, and anti-inflammatory effects. It is in every high-end anti-aging supplement on the market. Japanese knotweed root contains resveratrol in concentrations that dwarf what is found in grapes or red wine. The supplement industry has known this for years. Many resveratrol supplements are already manufactured from Japanese knotweed extract. The label rarely says so. The young spring shoots are edible. They emerge like asparagus, taste tart and rhubarb-like, and can be cooked in similar ways. Dried Japanese knotweed root sells for over $50 a pound. It is the highest price on this list. It is also the plant that municipalities are spending public money to kill. Do not plant it intentionally. Do not move soil containing root fragments. Follow local regulations. But where it already grows, which is most disturbed roadsides and stream banks across the northern hemisphere, foraging the shoots and harvesting root for personal use costs nothing and removes a plant that no one wants there anyway. Mugwort is the tall aromatic plant with silver-backed leaves that colonizes roadsides, field edges, and waste ground. The smell of the crushed leaf is distinctive, slightly bitter, slightly camphor-like, unmistakable once you know it. Chinese medicine has used mugwort for over 2,000 years. The practice of moxibustion, Burning small amounts of dried mugwort over acupuncture points to generate heat, appears in Chinese medical texts dating to the Han Dynasty, and remains in active clinical use today. Mugwort tea was the standard bitter tonic of European herbalism for digestive complaints, delayed menstruation, and what medieval physicians called a cold and sluggish constitution. Roman soldiers stuffed their sandals with mugwort leaves on long marches to prevent foot fatigue, an application that sounds like folklore until you consider that the same practice appears in multiple, unrelated military traditions across Europe and Asia. Modern research has confirmed bitter compounds including absinthin and flavonoids with digestive stimulating and antispasmodic activity. The compound artemisinin, isolated from a related Artemisia species, became one of the most important anti-malarial drugs ever developed. Dried mugwort sells for $12 to $22 a pound. It grows on roadsides, waste ground, and field margins across the entire northern hemisphere with almost aggressive persistence. Common mallow grows along pathways, roadsides, and disturbed soil in warm and temperate climates. The round-lobed leaves and pink-purple veined flowers are easy to identify. It has been a food and medicine plant in every culture that encountered it. Ancient Egyptians ate the leaves as a vegetable. Pythagoras wrote about mallow's calming effects in the 6th century BC. Roman cuisine used the leaves in salads and soups. Arab physicians in the medieval period placed it among their most important mucilaginous medicines. The Ottoman pharmacopoeia listed it for respiratory and digestive applications. Every part of the plant contains mucilage, a gel-like substance that coats and soothes inflamed tissue. The mechanism is straightforward and physically measurable. When you consume mallow, the mucilage lines the gut, throat, and urinary tract, reducing inflammation through direct physical contact. This is why the traditional use for sore throats, irritated digestive tracts, and urinary inflammation is consistent across every tradition that documented the plant. 6 remain. The last item on this list grows within walking distance of most people watching this. It sells for more per pound than most cuts of beef. Horsetail is one of the oldest plants on Earth. The genus Equisetum appeared in the fossil record over 300 million years ago. The plants that existed when the first land vertebrates were evolving looked nearly identical to the ones growing in ditches today. Traditional Chinese medicine used it for over 2,000 years for bleeding, eye conditions, and as a diuretic. Roman physicians documented it for wound care and kidney complaints. European herbalists used it consistently for bone and connective tissue support, an application that was taken seriously long before the chemistry was understood. Horsetail contains more bioavailable silica than almost any other plant. Silica is a structural mineral involved in collagen synthesis and connective tissue formation. Research has confirmed that horsetail extract improves nail strength and hair growth in clinical trials, outcomes that map directly to the connective tissue applications in traditional medicine. A 2016 study confirmed statistically significant improvement in nail health over a 12-week treatment period. Dried horsetail sells for $15 to $28 a pound. It grows in damp ground, ditches, stream banks, and disturbed moist soil across the temperate world. The plant has survived 300 million years of mass extinctions, climate shifts, and geological upheaval. It has certainly survived every attempt to remove it from garden borders. Chicory grows in roadsides and dry, disturbed ground with bright blue flowers that open and close on a precise daily schedule. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri mentioned chicory root preparations. Roman writers, including Pliny and Virgil, referenced it as both food and medicine. The plant was cultivated across the Ottoman Empire as a coffee substitute and digestive aid. Viking-era Scandinavian herbalists used the root for liver complaints. The root contains inulin, the same prebiotic fiber found in dandelion and burdock, in higher concentrations than almost any other plant source. Modern research has confirmed significant prebiotic activity, beneficial effects on gut microbiome composition, and anti-inflammatory properties from bitter compounds including lactocopecrine. The roasted root was used extensively as a coffee substitute or extender during both world wars when coffee supplies were disrupted, a use that continues commercially today in some European markets. Dried chicory root sells for $15 to $25 a pound. The blue flowers are edible and used as a garnish in restaurants that charge considerably more per plate than the plant costs to grow. It grows on every dry roadside in the temperate world, flowering reliably from midsummer through autumn. Agramony is a plant that medieval herbalists associated extensively with wound healing and throat complaints. The genus name commemorates Mithridates VI of Pontus, Eupator, a 1st century BC king famous for his extensive knowledge of plant medicines and for his systematic self-experimentation with poisons and their antidotes. That attribution alone suggests the plant had a serious medicinal reputation in the ancient world. Roman physicians used agramony for liver complaints and what they called a disordered spleen. Traditional Chinese medicine used related Agramenia species for bleeding disorders and as an astringent. The plant contains tannins, flavonoids, and bitter compounds that have demonstrated genuine astringent and anti-inflammatory activity. Reviews of traditional use confirm consistent applications for sore throats, mouth inflammation, and mild diarrhea. The astringent tannins physically tighten inflamed mucous membrane tissue. A strong tea of the dried aerial parts used as a gargle for throat inflammation is one of the most consistently reported traditional remedies across European herbal traditions. Dried agramony sells for $18 to $30 a pound. It grows in meadows and along woodland edges, producing tall spikes of small yellow flowers through midsummer. A plant with a king's name, growing wild in every temperate meadow, worth more per pound than most of the things planted deliberately beside it. The common name is not subtle. Self-heal, heal all. A plant named with that kind of confidence was trusted completely. Prunella grows low to the ground in lawns, meadows, and disturbed grassland across the temperate world, producing short spikes of purple flowers that bees return to repeatedly throughout the summer. Traditional Chinese medicine documented Prunella vulgaris, called Sha Ku Sao, for over 2,000 years, using it primarily for inflammatory conditions and infections. European herbalists from the medieval period through the 17th century used it for sore throats, wounds, and mouth ulcers with a confidence that the name reflects. Native American healers on the North American continent used it for the same applications independently: wounds, throat inflammation, and skin conditions. 3 traditions, 3 continents, the same plant, the same uses. Modern research has found that self-heal contains rosmarinic acid, ursolic acid, and luteolin, compounds with confirmed anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antiviral activity. Research has specifically shown that prunellin, a compound isolated from the plant, disrupts bacterial biofilms, the protective structures that make some infections difficult to treat. Dried self-heal sells for $15 to $25 a pound. It is growing right now in lawns across the Northern Hemisphere, small enough to be overlooked, persistent enough to return after every mowing. Feverfew grows as a bushy perennial with strongly aromatic divided leaves and small daisy-like flowers. The smell of the crushed leaf is immediate and distinctive, slightly medicinal, slightly sharp. The plant's association with fever reduction goes back to ancient Greek medicine. The name feverfew comes through a Latin corruption of febra foga, fever reducer. Medieval European physicians used it extensively for headache, fever, and what they called womb disorders. The specific use for migraine headache has been the subject of serious modern clinical investigation. A 1988 randomized controlled trial published in The Lancet found that daily feverfew consumption significantly reduced migraine frequency. Subsequent trials have produced mixed but largely positive results, and feverfew remains one of the better supported herbal treatments for migraine prevention in the clinical literature. The active compound parthenolide inhibits platelet aggregation and prostaglandin synthesis, mechanisms directly relevant to migraine pathophysiology. Dried feverfew sells for $20 to $35 a pound. The plant self-seeds freely in gardens and disturbed ground, spreading with almost no encouragement across the temperate world. It is the headache remedy that grows itself in the garden border, costs nothing to maintain, and seeds into every available gap in the paving. The last one is already in your yard. Couch grass is the reason gardeners despair. The creeping rhizome that threads through every bed, breaks off during removal, and regrows from every fragment. The weed that inspired genuine hopelessness in allotment holders across northern Europe for as long as people have been growing food. Ancient Egyptians documented the root medicinally in papyri dating to 1500 BC, one of the earliest written records of plant medicine in existence. Greek physicians used it as a primary treatment for urinary tract complaints and kidney stones. Roman physicians recommended it for the same conditions. The plant appears in the earliest Chinese medical texts for related urinary applications. 4 separate ancient traditions, the same root, the same clinical use, across civilizations with no recorded contact. Modern research has confirmed that couchgrass rhizome contains compounds including tryptophan, a specific polysaccharide, along with volatile oils and mucilage with demonstrated diuretic and anti-inflammatory activity in the urinary tract. German Commission E, the scientific body that evaluated herbal medicines for the German government, formally approved couchgrass root for urinary tract complaints. That approval represents a higher evidentiary standard than most herbal medicines in commercial use today. Dried couchgrass root sells for $20 to $38 a pound. The root is in almost every garden in the temperate world. It threads through raised beds, breaks forks, and survives everything. It is also one of the oldest documented medicines in human history. The plant that makes gardeners genuinely angry is the one that was worth harvesting all along. The global supplement industry did not build itself on rare plants. It built itself on common ones, packaged and sold back to people who had stopped recognizing what grew around them. Industrial agriculture needed clean fields. Clean fields needed herbicides. Herbicides needed a story about weeds being worthless. That story was worth more to chemical companies than anything growing in the fields they were treating. The herbicide market alone is worth over $30 billion annually. The plants it targets, many of them, are worth considerably more per pound than the chemicals used to kill them. The knowledge was never locked away. It was made inconvenient. A lawn that contains dandelion, plantain, cleavers, and nettle is not a failed lawn. It is a pharmacy that maintains itself, seeds itself, and asks nothing except that someone learn its names. Every item on this list is still growing. Nothing on this list went anywhere. The only thing that changed is whether anyone is paying attention.